This family has endured the unsolicited, unwarranted, unreasonable, unjustifiable, and massive burden of grieving their loved one, and at the same time, fighting for justice.
Emotional moments this week as Tyre Nichols was laid to rest 3 weeks after his brutal police beating was captured on disturbing video. The message? A call for change amid the sadness and the fury.
We are back now with Tanisha Sullivan, president of the Boston branch of the NAACP, and joining us now is the Reverend Willie Bodrick II, the pastor of Roxbury's 12th Baptist Church. Reverend Bodrick, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
There doesn't seem in the wake of this to have been quite the outcry that we have seen in the wake of other incidents. And is it a concern, or is it even a reality that we are all a bit fatigued by this?
Well, it's seemingly been cyclical. We've been dealing with this issue, and we've been seeing a ritual of violence that has been perpetual. And like many of our community have said, they're just tired of being tired. Mm-hmm. We're not just seeing this situation. We saw the Keenan Anderson situation in LA not too a couple weeks ago, and we're seeing other situations emerge. And this is one that got to the forefront into the media light. And I think what we're really seeing is people saying, look, we're hearing about the reforms, we're hearing about the practices. We know that they need more training, but when will they stop killing us? And people are tired of that, and we need to see real action move us forward so that people can say, look, I'm over the trauma. I'm in a state of being numb. I'm in this place where I'm trying to understand what more can we say, what more can we do to let you know that black bodies and black life matters in this country and that policing needs to change.
Reverend Bodrick, you've been very vocal about the changes that you want to see enacted, from how communities of color are patrolled to policy changes. So what more can be done to make black and brown communities feel safe?
Well, first and foremost, we have to acknowledge that there is a toxic culture in community in policing, and we have to do the work of shifting that culture, that there is a perception and a presumption of guilt of black bodies in this nation. And as we continue to have that conversation, we need to recognize that in the American consciousness that there's a fear and a criminalization of black bodies, whether they're walking, whether they're driving, whether they're in school. We've seen these situations happening in very ordinary circumstances. What we're asking for is that the reforms move forward beyond just the training and regulations, that maybe we need to hit people where it really hurts, and it's their pockets. Our city, the city of Boston in itself, paid out almost $39 million because police misconduct and police brutality and these particular actions. That is taxpayers' dollars. Mm-hmm. And what we need to do is to start having serious conversations around professional liability insurance and asking those conversations, having the conversations with unions and with police officers around making sure that they own up and pay for the issues and the misconduct and the actions that they actually perform. And I think taking that burden off the city, taking that burden off the taxpayer, and ensuring that we're shifting in that direction.
So specifically, it sounds like you're calling for an end to qualified immunity.
Oh, we need an end to QI. I think we need to end qualified immunity. Police should not be immunized for operating outside of the scope of their responsibilities. And I think those who understand that this won't change until those behaviors and those actions are actually dealt with, and they know that there's no protection for them, then we will actually see some change in the actions as well as in the culture of policing. I don't think you can, legislate hearts, but I do think you can legislate behavior. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we want to see, because it shouldn't be a case where 5 officers brutally beat a young man who had so much life to live and so many who loved him.
Cameras have changed so much. The body cameras for police, the street light cameras that we saw in Memphis, of course. Will Smith said that racism isn't getting worse, it's just getting filmed finally, right? And that seems to be the truth. So cameras have changed the conversation a bit, but is that enough? Doesn't seem like it, because we keep seeing these events over and over and over getting filmed. What else do we need?
Well, the cameras in this case really did their job. Mm-hmm. But for both the body cameras, the body-worn cameras, and the SkyCop cameras, we would not have been able to not just see what happened, but understand what happened in the tragic death of Tyre Nichols. And so the policy movement that has led to the advent of more cameras has proven to be very helpful in our work. I do want to really call out in this moment that that our advocacy toward accountability is working. right? In the sense that we saw for the very first time a situation where we have a tragic death, and within 20 days we have termination, we have arrests, we have indictments. The challenge now is to ensure that there's equitable and equal kind of response to these type of incidents when the officers are not Black. That's not lost on many in the advocacy community as well. You know, the fact that we were able to see such swift call to justice is one of the reasons why we didn't see the level of protest that we've seen in other cases, because so many of us take to the streets because there is no action.
We're almost out of time. Reverend Bodrick, just quickly, are cameras changing the conversation? Are we making the progress that Tanisha talks about?
Well, I think at least cameras at least captured the incident. I think cameras didn't do what we expected them to do. We thought cameras would be a deterrent, and it was not as much a deterrent because we've seen too many instances post the camera reform that we've been asking for to actually happen. But I do agree with Madam President in the regards that we are seeing an opportunity to make sure that we can push this conversation forward and hold folks accountable. But for the cameras, the police reports would have read a whole different story. And so we do understand that there is value in the cameras, but we must say cameras aren't enough. And we have to move forward to ensuring that the policies that we were looking to change and shift are there to hold officers accountable, and the culture that we need to shift. It's not just bad apples, but we may need to uproot the tree. And I think that's where we need to go.
So much to consider, Anthony.
Understood, absolutely. We could talk for hours about this. We want to thank all of our guests tonight for participating in this City Line Chronicles special and for keeping the conversation going about issues that are important to all of us, from Memphis to Massachusetts. I'm Anthony Everett.
And I'm Karen Holmes Ward. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Take care and have a good evening.